Breaking down the greatest NBA seasons of all time. There are a handful of seasons in NBA history that don't feel like basketball anymore. They feel like a glitch, a number so big it stops looking real. A stretch of months where one human being broke the sport over his knee and dared the league to do something about it. But here's what almost every list like this misses. These seasons didn't come out of nowhere. Nobody wakes up one October and accidentally averages 50 points a game. Every single one of these years was a leap. A player who was already good or already great taking a step from one season to the next that nobody saw coming. So we're not just going to tell you how good these seasons were. We're going to show you the before, who they were the year before this happened, and what changed to make them jump off the cliff into history. This isn't a list of the best players ever. That's a different argument. This is something more specific. The single greatest individual seasons ever played. One man, 1 year, the absolute ceiling of what's possible on a basketball court. And one question is going to run underneath this entire countdown because nobody agrees on it. What actually makes a season the greatest? Is it the raw numbers? Is it the hardware, the MVPs and the awards? Or is it the rings? Because what's a monster year worth if you don't win the trophy at the end of it? Hold on to that, because you're going to watch it tear this list apart. Some of the most statistically insane seasons ever produced exactly 0 championships. Some didn't even win MVP. And deciding how much that matters is the whole game. This is game is culture. If you want the breakdowns that actually do the work, that rank with reasons instead of just vibes, subscribe right now and turn the bell on. We're counting down 13 seasons, and the top 2 are going to start a fight in the comments. Let's get into it. Quick word on the criteria. Every season here is weighed on 4 things. Statistical dominance, where it lands in the advanced metrics, team and playoff success, and historical impact, how much it changed the way we think about the sport. No single one wins by itself. The debate is in the mix. Number 13. Number 13. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the 1971-72 season. To understand this season, you have to understand how impossible it was to top the year before it. Because the year before, in 1970-71, Kareem, then just 23 years old, in his second season in the league, won the MVP, won Finals MVP, and won the championship, leading the Bucks to 66 wins. That's one of the greatest sophomore seasons anyone has ever had. He'd already conquered the sport. So what do you do for an encore when you've won everything in year 2? You score more than almost anyone ever had. In 1971-72, Kareem cranked his scoring up to 34.8 points a game, on top of 16.6 rebounds, and won his second straight MVP. The skyhook, that high, arcing, completely unblockable shot released from somewhere near the rafters, was now fully weaponized, and there was simply no answer for it. Not from one defender, not from 2. The Bucks won 63 games behind it. And here's the first appearance of the ghost that's going to haunt this entire list. This scoring masterpiece did not end in a ring. Milwaukee ran into the Lakers, the team in the middle of a 33-game winning streak, still the longest in the history of American pro sports, and lost in the conference finals. And look at the company he was keeping. This was a loaded era. Jerry West, the aging Wilt Chamberlain, a young Kareem alongside Oscar Robertson in his own backcourt. Beating those people while averaging 35 was not a quirk of weak competition. It was a young giant standing on the throats of legends. The advanced numbers back it up completely. Kareem led the entire league that season in both player efficiency rating and win shares, the catch-all metrics for total production. He wasn't just scoring the most. By the math, he was contributing more to winning than anyone alive. So why does the season that lost rank when the title season the year before doesn't? Because we know what a Kareem championship looks like. We just watched it the year before. 1971-72 is the version where the pure individual production hit its absolute ceiling. The jump here wasn't from bad to good. It was from already a champion to a scoring force the league could barely comprehend. That's a different kind of leap, and it's enough to land him at 13. Number 12. Kobe Bryant. This is one of the cleanest before and afters on the entire list, because the before was a disaster. In the summer of 2004, the Lakers blew up a dynasty. They traded Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant big man alive, and handed the entire franchise to Kobe Bryant. And the first year of the Kobe alone experiment was a mess. The Lakers missed the playoffs entirely, going 34-48. The narrative was brutal. Kobe broke up a championship team to be the man, and the team fell apart. He was a villain who couldn't win on his own. Then came the jump. Stripped of any other star, surrounded by role players, he averaged 35.4 points a game, the highest single-season scoring average anyone had posted since the 1980s. And on the night of January 22, 2006, against the Toronto Raptors, he did the thing that defines him forever. He scored 81 points in one game. He had 4 straight 50-point games that season. It was scoring as obsession, scoring as art, scoring as a message to everyone who said he couldn't carry a team. And dig into that 81-point night for a second, because it's even more absurd than the number suggests. The Lakers were actually losing that game, down by 14 in the third quarter to a Toronto team that had no business being on the same floor. So Kobe simply took the game hostage. He scored 55 points in the second half alone. 55 after halftime, by himself, to erase a deficit and win a game his team had no other way of winning. It wasn't a stat-padding blowout, it was a one-man rescue mission that happened to end at 81, and the timing matters. This was right after the league cracked down on hand-checking, opening up the floor for perimeter scorers in a way the old rules never allowed, and Kobe exploited that new freedom more ruthlessly than anyone. He had a stretch that season where he averaged over 40 a game for an entire month. Now the caveats, because they're loud. He didn't win MVP. That went to Steve Nash, in a vote people argue about to this day. And the Lakers, a 45-win team riding entirely on his back, took a 3-1 lead in the first round and then collapsed, losing in 7 to Phoenix. So here's your debate, live. 35 a game, an 81-point eruption, the biggest scoring leap of his career, but no MVP and a first-round exit. Greatest ever season, or a spectacular solo act on a team that couldn't back it up? I've got it 12th. You might have it higher. That's the point. Number 11. Nikola Jokic, the 2022-23 season. The before on this one is unusual, because the before was already historic. Jokic had won back-to-back MVPs in 2021 and 2022, and the 2022 version posted some of the highest single-season impact numbers the advanced stats have ever recorded. By every metric that tries to measure a player's total value, Jokic was already operating at a level almost nobody in history had touched. But there was a problem, and it wasn't on the court. The problem was perception. He's a 7-foot center who doesn't dunk on people, doesn't fly, doesn't look the part, a guy who shuffles up the floor and then throws a pass no human should be able to see. So in 2023, the voters did something telling. They got tired of him. They gave the MVP to someone else. The story became, Jokic is great, but enough already. So the jump in 2022 to 23 wasn't statistical. It was a change in what he aimed at. He stopped needing the individual award and went and took the only thing that would end the argument. He dragged the Denver Nuggets, a franchise that had never won anything, to the first championship in their history, and he was named Finals MVP, dismantling every opponent with a calm that bordered on insulting. The triple-doubles in the playoffs became routine. He swept LeBron James and the Lakers out of the Western Conference Finals, putting up triple-doubles like it was a casual Tuesday, and then dismantled Miami in the finals. He spent that entire postseason posting numbers no center in modern history had approached, and he did it while making the game look slow, like he was playing a version everyone else hadn't been told the rules to. By the all-encompassing impact metrics, his playoff run rates among the most dominant any player has ever produced. This is the answer to a specific criticism, that his game is too quiet, too weird, too unathletic to be all-time great. The rebuttal is a banner hanging in Denver. The eye test said he's a big guy who passes well. The trophy said otherwise. Number 10. Russell Westbrook, the 2016-17 season. This is the single biggest year-over-year jump on the entire list, and it happened because of a goodbye. The year before, in 2015-16, Westbrook was a great player, but he was a co-star. He shared the Oklahoma City backcourt with Kevin Durant, averaging a strong 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. And that team came within one game of the finals before blowing a 3-1 lead to Golden State. Then Kevin Durant left. He walked out the door and joined the very team that had just beaten them, the 73-win Warriors. Oklahoma City was supposed to be finished, the supporting star was now the only star on a roster nobody believed in, and Russell Westbrook responded with one of the most ferocious one-man seasons in the history of basketball. He averaged a triple-double, 31.6 points, 10.7 rebounds, 10.4 assists for the entire season. Before him, exactly one human being had ever done that, and we'll get to him. Westbrook also broke the all-time record for triple-doubles in a season with 42 of them. He won the MVP. It was rage turned into a stat line, abandonment turned into 42 triple-doubles. And the way he clinched the triple-double average is the stuff of legend. On the night he broke Oscar Robertson's all-time record for triple-doubles in a season, number 42, he did it in the most Westbrook way imaginable. Down by 3 to Denver in the final seconds, he grabbed the rebound that locked in the triple-double, then pulled up from well behind the arc and drained a 36-foot buzzer beater to win the game. A 50-point triple-double, the record, and a game winner, all in one possession. You could not script it more perfectly if you tried. And now the other side, because it's the loudest debate on this list. The Thunder won 47 games and got bounced in the first round, 4-1, and critics argue the triple-doubles were partly engineered, that he chased rebounds his teammates could have grabbed to keep the streak alive. So which is it? The most ferocious solo season of the modern era, or empty numbers on a team going nowhere? My honest take, averaging a triple-double for a year is historic no matter how you frame it, but the first round exit is exactly why it's 10th and not higher. Numbers this enormous with results this thin is the precise tension this whole video is built on. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the 2019-20 season. Giannis is a year-over-year story all the way down. A player who quite literally improved every single season from a skinny raw teenager who could barely shoot into a force of nature. The relevant before here is 2018-19, when he won his first MVP, averaging 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists, and led the Bucks to the best record in basketball. That was already an MVP season. The question was how he could possibly take another step from there. The answer, in 2019-20, was to add a second job. He kept the offensive dominance, 29.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, and then became the best defensive player in the entire league on top of it. He won the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year award in the same season. And here's how rare that is. In the entire history of the NBA, only 3 players have ever been named both the most valuable player and the best defender in the same year. Giannis is one of them. The other 2 are still ahead of us on this list. He was a freight train downhill on offense and a wall on defense, switching onto guards, swallowing the paint, anchoring the league's best defensive team while leading it in scoring. There has rarely been a more complete two-way regular season. And here's the detail that makes it even more staggering. He did almost all of it in barely 30 minutes a game. He was so overwhelmingly dominant that he sat out most fourth quarters because the games were already decided. Project those numbers across a normal workload and they become cartoonish. The Bucks didn't just win the most games, they had one of the best point differentials in the history of the league, blowing teams off the floor on both ends with Giannis as the engine. He was the runaway MVP, not a close call. The caveat is real and I won't dodge it. This is the bubble season, and Milwaukee got knocked out in the second round, a genuine disappointment for the top seed with the two-way MVP. If you want the Giannis who finished the job, you look 1 year later, when he won the title and dropped 50 in the closeout game. But for sheer two-way domination across a full season, 2019-20 is the masterpiece. The year he stopped being just an offensive monster and became unguardable and unbeatable at the same time. Number 8. Hakeem Olajuwon, the 1993-94 season. This one is less a sudden jump and more a damn finally breaking. For years, Hakeem had been one of the best players alive and gotten almost nothing for it. The year before, in 1992-93, he averaged 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 blocks, finished second in the MVP voting, and watched his Rockets lose a heartbreaking Game 7 in the second round. He was brilliant, and he was stuck, a transcendent talent on a team that kept falling just short, in a league where one man in Chicago had been hoarding every championship. Then 2 things happened at once. That one man in Chicago, Michael Jordan, walked away from basketball to play baseball. And Hakeem Olajuwon chose that exact moment to have the single most complete season any big man has ever had. He won the MVP, he won the Defensive Player of the Year, and he won the Finals MVP. All 3. in the same season that has never been done by anyone else in the history of the league. Not Jordan, not Kareem, not Wilt, not Shaq. One player has ever swept all three, and it's Hakeem. He averaged 27 points, 12 rebounds, and nearly 4 blocks, with footwork so refined it had its own name. The Dream Shake, a move that left Hall of Fame defenders falling over each other. And then he carried Houston to the championship, beating the New York Knicks in a vicious 7-game finals. And the Dream Shake deserves its own moment, because it was less a move than a magic trick. He'd catch the ball on the block, give a shoulder fake, a pivot, a second fake, and by the time the defender committed, Hakeem was already laying it in while the 7-footer guarding him was airborne and lost. He humiliated Patrick Ewing with it throughout that 7-game finals. Two of the greatest centers of the era, head-to-head, and Hakeem simply had more tools. He sealed it with a blocked shot in the final seconds of Game 6 that's still replayed in Houston to this day. Now the honest caveat. This is the season Jordan wasn't there, and some people slap an asterisk on it for that. I'll let you weigh it. But here's the thing. Hakeem didn't ask Jordan to leave. And the very next year, with Jordan back, Hakeem won the title again and personally embarrassed the league's other great centers along the way. The asterisk doesn't hold up. On pure completeness, best player, best defender, best player in the finals, and the ring to seal it, 1993-94 is as flawless as a season gets. Number 7. Oscar Robertson, the 1961-62 season. The before on this one is almost as ridiculous as the season itself. Because in his rookie year, 1960-61, Oscar Robertson averaged 30 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 10 assists. As a rookie, he was already on the doorstep of a triple-double average, so the jump in his second year wasn't from good to great. It was from nearly impossible to actually impossible. In 1961-62, Oscar Robertson crossed the line. He averaged a triple-double for the entire season. 30.8 points, 12.5 rebounds, 11.4 assists. Every category, double figures, sustained across an 80-game year. He did it 60 years before the basketball world decided it was the coolest achievement imaginable. He did it as a guard, in a league with no three-point line, no analytics, no modern training, no idea what it was even looking at. For decades, this was treated as the single most untouchable record in the sport. The thing everyone assumed would never be matched, right up until Westbrook finally did it. And there's a real argument Oscar's version is the more impressive one, because he was the pioneer, the first man to prove a human could fill every column of the box score at once, night after night. And here's a fact that should melt your brain. This happened the exact same season as the number 1 entry on this list. In 1961-62, one man was averaging a triple-double and another was averaging 50 points a game, in the same league at the same time. It's the single most stacked statistical season in the history of basketball, and somehow Oscar's triple-double, a feat people would lose their minds over today, was almost the second most ridiculous thing happening that year. That's how absurd the era's ceiling was. And it wasn't a one-year fluke for Oscar. Over the first 5 years of his career combined, his averages came out to a triple-double. He didn't just touch the impossible once, he lived there. The reason it sits at 7 and not higher is the same ghost we keep meeting. The Cincinnati Royals didn't win, and Oscar didn't even win the MVP that season. The award went to a defensive center in Boston who was busy collecting championships. So one of the most legendary stat lines in the history of basketball came with no trophy and no MVP. The greatest seasons, over and over, refuse to be simple. Number 6. Shaquille O'Neal, the 1999-2000 season. The before and after here is about one man arriving on the sideline. The first several years of his career, Shaq was a monster who underachieved when it mattered. The year before, in the lockout-shortened 1998-99 season, he averaged a strong 26-11, but the Lakers, a talented, dysfunctional team, got swept out of the second round, and the whispers were everywhere. The most physically gifted center alive couldn't get out of his own way. Then the Lakers hired Phil Jackson, the coach who just won 6 titles with Jordan, and Phil walked in and essentially told Shaq the truth, that he was wasting historic talent. The jump that followed was the jump from underachiever to unstoppable. In 1999-2000, Shaquille O'Neal became the most physically dominant force the sport has ever seen. He averaged 29.7 points and 13.6 rebounds, and he won the MVP in a vote that was nearly unanimous. He received all but one first-place ballot, and people still want to find the one writer who didn't vote for him. And this time, he finished it. He led the Lakers to 67 wins, won the championship, and was named Finals MVP, with the All-Star Game MVP thrown in for good measure. Regular season MVP, Finals MVP, a ring, the complete package. And the playoffs were where it got truly frightening. Shaq averaged something close to 38 points and 16 rebounds across the entire postseason. In the finals against Indiana, he was a wrecking ball. And earlier, in a do-or-die Game 7 against Portland, the Lakers were down by 15 in the fourth quarter before Shaq anchored the comeback, capped by the iconic lob from a young Kobe Bryant that Shaq threw down to seal it. That alley-oop is one of the most famous plays in franchise history, and it only happened because the entire defense had to collapse on Shaq first. The hack-a-Shaq strategy tells you everything. Opponents would intentionally foul him away from the ball, sending a 50% free throw shooter to the line, because they had calculated that giving him free throws was mathematically smarter than letting him catch the ball near the rim. Think about that. So why only 6th with all that hardware? Because this is a ranking of ceilings, and the seasons above are either even more statistically impossible or carried even more weight in how they changed the sport. But for 1 year, Shaq was a genuine cheat code. The league literally invented a strategy, fouling him on purpose, far from the basket, just to keep the ball out of his hands, because there was no legal way to guard him. When your dominance forces a rule-bending counter strategy into existence, you've had one of the great seasons ever. Number 5. LeBron James, the 2012-13 season. This is the back half of the best 2-year arc on the list. The before is one of the most scrutinized failures in sports history. In 2010-11, LeBron took his talents to Miami, became the most hated man in the sport, and then shrank in the finals, losing to Dallas in a series where he visibly disappeared in fourth quarters. The narrative hardened into concrete. The most physically gifted player ever didn't have it when it counted. Then came the first step of the jump. In 2011-12 he answered, winning his first championship, his first finals MVP, and the regular season MVP. He'd shed the choker label, but 2012-13 is when he didn't just win, he perfected the whole thing. He averaged 26.8 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, on a true shooting efficiency so absurd it almost shouldn't be possible for a player carrying that much load. He shot over 56% from the field as the primary creator for everything his team did. That marriage of volume and efficiency is the holy grail, and he reached it. He won the MVP, he won the championship, he won Finals MVP, and in the middle of the season, the Heat ripped off a 27-game winning streak, the second longest in league history. He was, that year, the best offensive player and one of the best defensive players alive, simultaneously, guarding all 5 positions, running the offense, and finishing at the rim like a runaway truck. Sit with that efficiency number, because it's the hidden heart of this season. A true shooting percentage over 64, for a player who was the focal point of every defense, taking the hardest shots, drawing the most attention. Role players who only take wide-open layups dream of that efficiency. LeBron hit it while being the entire offense. The advanced metrics rated it as one of the most efficient high-usage seasons ever measured, and the postseason raised the stakes to their limit. In the finals against San Antonio, the Heat were seconds from losing the title in Game 6, down by a possession, with championship ropes already being set up on the floor, before the famous Ray Allen corner 3 forced overtime and saved the season. LeBron then delivered a Game 7 for the ages to close it out. That's how thin the line was between the perfect season and another failure. He landed on the right side of it. The case to rank it even higher is strong, and plenty of people make it. The reason it's 5th is that the 4 above are either more statistically unprecedented or more historically explosive. But if your definition of greatest season is completeness, a player with no flaw, doing everything at an elite level and winning it all, then 2012-13 might be your number 1, and I won't fight you very hard. Number 4. Curry, the 2015-16 season. Most seasons you rank by dominance. This one you rank by earthquake. The before was already a triumph. In 2014-15, Curry won his first MVP and his first championship, leading the Warriors past LeBron's Cavs. He was, officially, the best player on the best team. The hard part is, taking a leap from the top of the mountain. There's nowhere left to climb. He climbed anyway. In 2015-16, Curry did something no player had done in the entire 70-year history of the league. He won the MVP unanimously. Every single voter, no exceptions. Not Jordan, not Kareem, not LeBron, nobody had ever swept the vote. Curry did. He averaged 30.1 points a game while shooting 50% from the floor, over 45% from 3, and 90% from the line, the rarest efficiency split in basketball, at the highest scoring volume of his life. He made 402 three-pointers, obliterating his own record by a margin that didn't even look fair. And the Warriors won 73 games, breaking the most sacred team record in the sport, the 72-win mark held for 2 decades. And the way he broke the three-point record is the part that defies belief. The single-season record before Curry got to it was 286, a record he himself already held. In 2015-16, he made 402. He didn't nudge the record, he detonated it, adding more than 100 made threes to a mark nobody else had ever come close to. He had a game in Oklahoma City where he pulled up from 32 feet, closer to half court than to the three-point line, to win it in overtime, and the broadcaster's call, "Bang, bang," became the sound of the whole era. Defenders stopped knowing where to guard him, because the entire half of the court was now in range. And here's the caveat, and it's the biggest one this high on the list. They lost the finals. Up 3-1 against Cleveland, the greatest regular season any team had ever played ended without a trophy. That collapse is the single largest knock on any season in this top tier. So why does it still crack the top 4? Because no season in modern history changed basketball more than this one. Curry's range didn't just win games, it rewired the geometry of the entire sport. Every kid pulling up from 30 feet, every offense built around the three, every team in the league reshaping itself to chase what he made look easy, that all flows directly out of this season. It didn't end in a ring. It ended in something arguably bigger. It changed the game itself. Number 3. Wilt Chamberlain, the 1966-67 season. Now we reach the part of the list where the numbers stop sounding human, which means it's Wilt time, and he appears twice in this top 3. The before on this one is a whole career's worth of an argument. For years, Wilt had been the most dominant scorer the league had ever seen, leading the league in points season after season, putting up totals nobody could touch, and getting buried for it. The criticism was relentless. He piles up empty numbers, he can't win, the rings all go to Boston. He was the greatest individual force in the sport, and in the eyes of his critics, a loser. So in 1966-67, Wilt did something almost unthinkable for a man with his ego. He changed his entire game. He decided to stop chasing scoring titles and start chasing a championship. The result was one of the most efficient, dominant seasons ever recorded. He averaged 24 points, 24 rebounds, and nearly 8 assists a game, a 7-foot center leading his team in playmaking while shooting 68% from the field, which led the entire league. He won the MVP, and then he buried the criticism for good. One of the greatest records in history at the time, ended the Celtics' run of championships, and won the title. Dominance, efficiency, an MVP, and a ring, all at once. And you have to understand what he was up against to grasp how big this was. For nearly a decade, Bill Russell and the Boston Celtics had owned the entire league, winning championship after championship and turning Wilt into the symbol of the brilliant loser. The 1966-67-76 Ers were assembled specifically to end that, and many historians still call them one of the greatest teams ever built. Wilt was their fulcrum, and in the playoffs he finally did to Russell what Russell had done to him for years. He beat him decisively and ended Boston's run of 8 straight titles, the most personal rivalry in the sport's history, and Wilt won the round that mattered most. If number 4 was the greatest season that didn't win, number 3 is the proof that the most physically dominant man of his era could win the moment he decided it was the only thing that mattered. The jump here wasn't in talent. The talent was always otherworldly. The jump was in purpose. And it's only number 3 because of what the very same man did 5 years earlier. Number 2. Michael Jordan, the 1987-88 season. The before here is critical because it's the thing this season had to answer. In 1986-87, Michael Jordan averaged 37 points a game and scored over 3,000 points, one of the greatest pure scoring seasons in history. And it meant almost nothing in the standings. The Bulls finished below 500 and got swept out of the first round. The label stuck. A brilliant scorer, a highlight machine, a guy who put up huge numbers on a team that couldn't win. Empty stats. So the jump in 1987 to 88 wasn't about scoring more. He'd already proven he could score on anyone. The jump was becoming a complete two-way force. He still led the league in scoring at 35 a game, but he also led the entire league in steals. He won the slam dunk contest with the free throw line takeoff and took the All-Star Game MVP in his home building. And then he did the thing that separated him from every scorer who came before. He was named both the most valuable player and the defensive player of the year in the same season, the first guard ever to win. Remember that three-man club from earlier with Giannis and Hakeem? Jordan got there first, and he's the only one of the three who did it as a perimeter player. And don't gloss over what that defensive award actually meant. The defensive player of the year had, before Jordan, gone almost exclusively to centers, the rim-protecting giants who erase shots at the basket. For a guard to win it was almost unheard of, because guards don't block shots or wall off the paint. He averaged over 3 steals a game, leading the entire league, turning defense into offense, picking opposing stars clean, and turning the steal into a fast break dunk on the other end. He was a one-man turnover machine who also happened to be the best scorer alive. No perimeter player had ever combined those two things at that level. That's the season the legend changed shape. The high-flying scorer became a lockdown two-way menace without sacrificing a single point of offense. The Bulls broke 50 wins, and Jordan won his first playoff series. This is the year the empty stats argument died. Now, you could make a real case for his 72-win season in 1995 to 96 here instead. The trifecta of MVP awards, the title. That's a fair fight. And some of you will have it that way, but 1987 to 88 is the purest version of peak athletic Jordan, the year he became the most complete player on earth. It sits at number 2 and not number 1 for one reason only. Because somewhere out there is a number so large that even a season this perfect can't quite reach it. Number 1. Wilt Chamberlain, the 1961 to 62 season. There was never going to be anything else at the top. And the before is the part that makes it almost incomprehensible, because the jump here is from impossible to mythological. As a rookie, in 1959 to 60, Wilt Chamberlain averaged 37.6 points and 27 rebounds a game, and won the MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season, the only player in history to do that. The next year he scored even more. So coming into 1961 to 62, this man had already put up 2 of the most dominant seasons anyone had ever seen. There was no room left to improve. There was nowhere to jump. He jumped 12 points a game anyway. In 1961 to 62, Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50.4 points per game. Not in a game, not in a stretch, for the entire season. 50 points a night, every night, for 80 games. He added 25.7 rebounds a game, and he did it while playing essentially every single minute of every single game. Over 48 minutes a night, more than a full game's worth because of overtimes, because he simply never left the floor. 80 games. He sat for a total of about 8 minutes the entire year, and inside that impossible season sits the single most famous individual performance in the history of the sport. On the night of March 2nd, 1962, against the Knicks, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in one game. There's no video of it, barely any footage exists at all. Just a number so large it reads like a misprint, and a single black and white photograph of a man holding a scrap of paper with 100 inches written on it. And there's a detail about that 100-point game that makes it even stranger. Wilt was a famously poor free throw shooter his entire career, but that night, he made 28 of 32 from the line, by far the best free throw shooting night of his life, as if the universe briefly removed his one weakness. He scored 59 in the second half alone. The game was in a tiny arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania, in front of barely 4,000 people, which is part of why no real footage survives. The most famous box score in basketball history, and almost no one actually saw it happen. The league's response to Wilt tells you everything. Over his career, the NBA literally changed the rules to try to contain him, widening the lane to push him farther from the basket, altering inbounding and free throw rules, structural changes to the sport itself, made because one man was breaking it. And here's the part that closes the loop on this entire video. For all of it, 50 a game, 100 in a night, the most statistically dominant season any human being has ever produced, Wilt did not win the MVP that year. It went to a defensive center in Boston who was busy winning championships, and Wilt's team lost in the playoffs. So by the strictest standard, the rings and hardware standard, the greatest statistical season in history won neither. That's exactly why it's the perfect number one, because it puts the whole debate on trial. If greatness means rings, then maybe Hakeem's sweep or Wilt's own title season ranks above it, and you'd have a genuine argument. But if greatness means doing something no human had ever done or will ever do again, then there is only one answer, and it's 50.4 points a game. That's the list. 13 seasons, 4 decades, and one question that never fully resolves. Do the numbers make a season immortal, or do the rings? Where you land on Curry's 73 wins with no trophy, on Westbrook's triple-double with a first-round exit, on Wilt's 50 a game with no MVP, that tells you what you actually believe greatness is. There's no neutral answer. Every ranking is a confession of what you value most. So tell me, what's your real number one? Which one did I rank too high, and which one did I leave too low? And the big one, does an all-time season have to end in a ring to count? Drop it in the comments. That's where the best version of this argument lives. This has been Game is Culture.